Have you ever sat down at the kitchen table with your partner, bills spread out, and thought, are we really ready for this next chapter? Retirement brings freedom, but it also brings new financial realities. And the truth is, the way couples budget together before retirement often shapes not just their money, but their peace of mind, their family traditions, and even their connection with each other. Today, let's talk about some simple budgeting habits couples can build together as retirement approaches. These aren't complicated formulas. They're small shifts that may bring clarity, reduce stress, and even spark more meaningful conversations about the future. When couples begin talking about budgeting for retirement, it's easy to get lost in spreadsheets, calculators, and lists of expenses. But starting with just the numbers can sometimes create stress instead of clarity. That's why a shared vision matters so much more. Before diving into the financial details, it helps to step back and imagine what this stage of life should feel like. Picture sitting together with a cup of tea and asking each other simple but meaningful questions. What do we want our mornings to look like? Do we want to travel, spend more time with family, or stay rooted in a home we love? These conversations are not about money at first. They're about values, lifestyle, and the emotional core of retirement. When couples take time to paint this picture, the numbers that follow have context. Instead of, we need to cut back, it becomes, we're choosing to save here so we can enjoy more of that. It transforms the budgeting process from something restrictive into something purposeful. For example, a couple who decides their vision is to spend summers near the grandchildren may suddenly see the importance of setting aside money for travel or a second small property. Another couple may imagine quiet days in a garden they've always wanted to build, which shifts their focus toward maintaining the home they already have. Without this shared picture, budgeting often feels like guesswork or worse, like one partner is forcing rules onto the other. This approach also prevents conflicts that come from different assumptions. One partner may dream of frequent adventures, while the other longs for stability and comfort at home. By voicing those ideas early, couples can find a balance instead of running into tension later when money is already allocated. It becomes less about compromise in the painful sense and more about blending visions into something that reflects both partners' hopes. Even if the dreams don't fully align, the simple act of sharing them builds understanding and reduces the feeling of being left out of financial decisions. A shared vision makes budgeting feel like a roadmap rather than a cage. It turns expenses into stepping stones that lead towards something meaningful. It encourages couples to look beyond immediate bills and think about how their choices today ripple into their retirement years. More importantly, it nurtures connection. Talking about the future isn't just about planning, it's about dreaming together, reminding each other that retirement is not only an economic phase, but also a chapter filled with new possibilities. Starting with vision first lays the emotional foundation that makes every financial decision feel more like teamwork and less like a battle over numbers. The 2 envelopes habit is simple in design but powerful in practice because it creates a visual reminder of balance. Couples approaching retirement often feel the tug of 2 competing needs, enjoying the present and preparing for the future. This habit helps give both parts of life their rightful space. Imagine literally placing 2 envelopes on the table, one labeled today and the other tomorrow. Into the first envelope goes money meant for daily living, groceries, outings with friends, gas, small comforts like a favorite meal out. Into the second envelope goes money for longer-term goals, healthcare, travel, or that sense of cushion that allows retirement to feel secure. Even if the envelopes are digital categories on a budgeting app, the symbolic act of dividing funds this way sends a clear signal: we are caring for both now and later. The The strength of this habit lies in how it turns an abstract idea into something tangible. Without it, couples might find themselves overspending in the moment, leaving little for future needs, or they may save so aggressively that they feel deprived today. Neither extreme brings peace. By committing to both envelopes, couples create a rhythm of balance that becomes second nature. Over time, this balance helps reduce tension between partners who may naturally lean in different directions. One more focused on security, the other on enjoying life as it comes. There's also something refreshing about the clarity it brings. When money for today runs low, it sparks a gentle reminder that the fun needs to be paced. When the tomorrow envelope grows steadily, it gives couples a sense of progress and reassurance without needing to check complicated investment statements. It's a way of measuring success in small, visible steps. What makes this habit even more meaningful is how couples can shape it to fit their unique story. Some may decide to use the today envelope for small family traditions, like monthly dinners with children or treats for grandchildren, while the tomorrow envelope is earmarked for bigger dreams. Others may use it as a way to manage healthcare funds separately from daily spending, giving peace of mind that certain essentials are already covered. The two envelopes habit isn't about restriction, it's about trust. Trust in the process, trust in each other, and trust that both today's joy and tomorrow's comfort matter equally. It shifts budgeting from a constant negotiation into a shared routine that quietly reinforces balance and teamwork. Couples who practice it often discover that the simple act of dividing money this way reduces stress and sparks a deeper sense of partnership as they step closer to retirement together. When couples think about budgeting, the default is often to set a plan once a year or only revisit it when something big happens, like tax season or a major purchase. The problem with that approach is that money, like life, moves in small daily steps, not in giant leaps. By waiting months before reviewing, couples may find themselves surprised by creeping expenses or old patterns returning without noticing. That's where weekly check-ins become such a helpful habit. Instead of sitting down once in a blue moon with stacks of papers and a heavy sense of dread, imagine a simple 15-minute chat over coffee or tea at the kitchen table. No spreadsheets, no financial jargon, just a calm conversation. How did this week go? Did we stay within what we planned? Is there something coming up we should prepare for? This small rhythm changes the entire tone of budgeting. It turns what could feel like a stressful audit into a natural part of family life. Couples who build this routine often find the conversations spill over into other areas, too. Talking weekly about money encourages openness about day-to-day choices, like deciding whether to eat out or save for a weekend with the grandchildren. It becomes less about control and more about awareness. And awareness, shared in small doses, is easier to manage than the overwhelming pile of adjustments that build up over a whole year. Weekly check-ins also give both partners a chance to voice concerns before they grow into conflicts. For instance, if one partner notices the grocery bill creeping higher, they can mention it while it's still small, instead of months later when the difference feels alarming. These little adjustments prevent the feeling of sudden bad news, which often causes friction. It also reinforces the sense that both people are steering the ship together. What makes this practice especially powerful is the lightness it brings. When budgeting is treated as a massive yearly event, it can feel like an exam, tense, full of pressure, and sometimes defensive. A short, casual weekly chat takes away that weight. It's like tending a garden. You pull a few weeds each week, water a little, and the whole space thrives without ever feeling overrun. The commitment isn't about perfect numbers, but about staying connected and attentive. For couples nearing retirement, these weekly check-ins can be one of the gentlest yet strongest habits to carry forward. They show that money isn't a once-a-year problem to solve, but a living part of daily partnership. Done consistently, they strengthen not only financial health, but also communication, trust, and the sense of being on the same team. When couples sit down to make a retirement budget, the first instinct is often to focus only on necessities: bills, healthcare, groceries, and home maintenance. These are important, of course, but when a budget is built only around obligations, it can begin to feel heavy, almost like a list of limitations. That's why it's so important to intentionally make room for joy. Joy may sound like an optional extra, but in reality, it is what keeps a plan sustainable. If every dollar is tied up in duties, couples may feel restricted and eventually drift away from the very budget they worked hard to create. By setting aside money for joy, retirement starts to feel like a life to be lived, not just a puzzle of expenses to manage. The idea isn't about lavish spending. It's about the small, intentional choices that add lightness to everyday life. For one couple, budgeting for joy might mean a monthly outing to a favorite cafe or tickets to a community concert. For another, it could be as simple as setting aside funds to surprise the grandchildren with ice cream trips, or to host a Sunday dinner without worrying about the grocery bill. These little touches carry a weight far greater than their price tag because they create memories, strengthen traditions, and remind couples why they worked so hard in the first place. What makes this practice powerful is the mindset shift it brings. Instead of asking, "What do we have to cut?" the question becomes, "What small joys do we want to protect?" That shift softens the process and encourages teamwork rather than tension. It's easier for partners to agree on limiting certain expenses when they know there's also a line in the budget dedicated to things that make life fun and meaningful. This approach can even help reduce the temptation of overspending. When couples deny themselves all enjoyment, it often leads to frustration and unplanned splurges. But when joy is built in, there's less guilt in spending and fewer surprises later. It becomes a healthy balance, a way of honoring both discipline and delight. For couples approaching retirement, budgeting for joy is not a luxury. It's a strategy for staying connected and motivated. It keeps the budget alive and human, reflecting not only what must be paid, but what makes life worth living. A retirement budget that includes joy is one that supports both security and happiness, ensuring the journey ahead feels full, not just financially sound. When it comes to managing money, many couples fall into a familiar pattern where one partner naturally takes the lead. Maybe one enjoys working with numbers or simply has always paid the bills, while the other steps back. On the surface, this can seem efficient, but over time it may create an imbalance. The partner who handles the finances carries the mental load, while the other feels left out or even uneasy because they don't fully understand where things stand. That's why rotating responsibility can be such a refreshing and surprisingly effective habit. It keeps both partners engaged, reduces misunderstandings, and ensures that each has a clear picture of their financial life as retirement approaches. Imagine it like taking turns driving on a road trip. One person can handle the wheel for a while, but eventually they need rest, and the other takes over. When couples rotate responsibility with budgeting, both get practice steering. For a few months, one partner might track expenses, manage the weekly check-ins, and make sure the envelopes for today and tomorrow are balanced. Then, the other partner takes a turn. This doesn't mean starting from scratch or changing the plan entirely. It means sharing the weight and keeping both minds active in the process. The benefit of this habit goes beyond numbers. When both partners experience what it feels like to manage the details, they develop empathy for each other. The one who thought budgeting was simple may discover the effort it takes to stay consistent, while the other may realize the value of a more relaxed approach. These shifts soften disagreements and open up conversations that might not have happened otherwise. It also prevents one partner from being left unprepared in the future. Life can be unpredictable, and knowing that both people understand the system brings comfort and resilience. Rotating responsibility can even bring a sense of playfulness. Couples might notice small differences in their styles, one more meticulous, the other more spontaneous, and learn to appreciate the balance those differences create. It reminds them that budgeting is not about control, but about teamwork. For couples nearing retirement, this habit reinforces equality and trust. It's a gentle but powerful way of saying, "We're in this together." By taking turns with the wheel, both partners stay connected to the journey, both voices shape the path forward, and both gain confidence that they could carry the load if needed. In the end, rotating responsibility strengthens not only the budget, but also the bond behind it. Budgeting can feel like a cold, mechanical process if it's only about numbers on a page. But when couples tie financial habits to traditions they already love, the process becomes warmer and easier to sustain. Using traditions as anchors gives budgeting an emotional connection, making it part of family life rather than just a chore. Think of the small rituals that already bring comfort and meaning. Maybe Sunday dinners, morning tea together, or calling the grandchildren at the end of the week. These traditions can serve as natural markers for financial check-ins, turning what might feel like work into something grounded in routine and love. For example, a couple might decide that once a month, during their regular Sunday meal, they'll spend a few minutes reviewing the two envelopes, or talking about what's upcoming. Because the review is tied to something they already enjoy, it doesn't feel like an intrusion. Another couple may use their weekly phone call with their children or grandchildren as a reminder to look over expenses first, making budgeting a natural part of preparing for family connection. In this way, money management becomes less of a task to be scheduled and more of a rhythm that blends seamlessly into daily life. Traditions also bring a sense of continuity. Retirement is a stage of life filled with change, sometimes downsizing homes, shifting routines, or adjusting to new roles. Anchoring budgeting to long-standing rituals provides stability amidst those changes. It reminds couples that while the numbers may vary, their shared values and practices remain steady. This stability reduces anxiety and gives budgeting a positive emotional frame, something to look forward to instead of avoid. There is another layer to this approach. Traditions often involve family, and weaving budgeting into those moments can reinforce a legacy mindset. Couples may choose to save a little extra each holiday for future family gatherings, or set aside a portion of their joy budget for grandchildren's visits. In doing so, they transform money management into an expression of love and care for future generations. Anchoring finances in tradition turns budgeting into more than a calculation. It becomes an act of storytelling, a way of carrying forward the rituals that define a family. For couples, it lightens the task and strengthens the bond, reminding them that money is not the goal but the tool. The goal is the life they are building, the memories they are nurturing, and the traditions that give retirement its richness and meaning. When couples think about budgeting, it's easy to fall into the trap of aiming for perfection. Every dollar accounted for, every plan followed without a slip. But real life rarely works that way, and expecting perfection often sets couples up for disappointment or unnecessary tension. Retirement, like any other stage of life, is unpredictable. Some months will bring unexpected expenses, a medical bill, a family emergency, or even something as simple as the car needing new tires. Other times, there will be opportunities too good to pass up, like a last-minute trip to see family. The key is to approach budgeting with the mindset of harmony instead of flawless execution. Harmony means the two partners are working in tune with each other, even if the numbers don't always line up exactly as planned. It's about checking in, making adjustments, and remembering that the goal isn't to achieve a perfect report card, but to create peace of mind and alignment as a couple. One partner may be more detail-oriented while the other is more relaxed, but together they can balance each other out. In fact, those differences, when respected, can create a healthier rhythm than either would achieve alone. Think of it like playing music together. A duet isn't about every note being flawless. It's about how the sounds blend, how the timing supports each other, and how the piece as a whole feels. Budgeting works the same way. If one partner overspends a little one week, harmony means talking about it without blame, finding ways to adjust, and moving forward with understanding. If unexpected costs shift the plan, harmony means adapting together rather than pointing fingers or feeling defeated. Approaching budgeting this way also makes it more sustainable. Couples who chase perfection often burn out, frustrated when reality doesn't match the plan. But those who focus on harmony build resilience. They see budgeting as an ongoing conversation, one that bends with circumstances instead of breaking under pressure. This mindset keeps couples connected and reduces the stress that money discussions sometimes bring. In retirement, harmony matters more than flawless execution because the true measure of success isn't how precise the budget is. It's whether couples feel supported, understood, and united. When both people feel safe to share, adjust, and dream within their financial plan, the budget becomes more than a tool. It becomes a reflection of their partnership. And that sense of harmony, not perfection, is what carries couples through the uncertainties of retirement with confidence and grace. So as you and your partner prepare for retirement, consider these simple budgeting habits, not just to protect your finances, but to nurture your connection. Because in the end, a budget isn't only about dollars. It's about the life, the traditions, and the joy those dollars make possible. If you found this helpful, share your story in the comments. How do you and your partner keep your budgeting simple and stress-free? And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations about family, finances, and the journey into retirement.